CM Punk responds to Dax Harwood's plea for Punk and the Elite to put their issues aside and return to AEW. Samoa Joe retains the TNT Championship on the New Year's Smash edition of Dynamite, cutting Wardlow's hair in the process. The Elite defeat Death Triangle, putting the best of 7 series score to 3 wins apiece. Will Ospreay, an update on his deal with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Could he sign with AEW in the future? Our new television themes coming soon to AEW TV with the revamped version of both Dynamite and Rampage coming in 2023. Got an update on Hangman Adam Page's recovery from a concussion. Sammy Guevara and Tay Mello are stripped of their AAA Mixed Tag Team Championship. Speaking of AAA, FTR have dropped the AAA Tag Team Championships. Karen Jarrett lashes out at Tony Khan on Twitter. Who was the mystery woman with MJF last night on Dynamite? A TBS and All-Atlantic Championship match are made for Rampage this coming Friday. And an update on Jeff Hardy. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrest News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, and as you can tell in the intro, there's plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. So let's start off talking about CM Punk. This was the story we spoke about yesterday. Dax Harwood, the first edition of his podcast, FTR, spoke extensively about the situation regarding CM Punk, the Elites, the brawl out at All Out. And now Punk has responded on social media, maybe implying that he could return to AEW and he could make things work with the Elite, or certainly that would be the most logical thing to do. CM Punk has responded to Dax Harwood's comments that he and the Elite should find a way to make it work. Of course, at the AEW All Out September 4th event, CM Punk defeated Jon Moxley to win the AEW World Championship. And at the post-show press conference, Punk took several shots at Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, which reportedly led to a heated brawl between the two sides, along with Ace Steel. Punk, Omega, and the Young Bucks were subsequently suspended, and Steel was fired. While the Elite returned at the Full Gear pay-per-view on November 19, Punk, who suffered an injury during his match against Moxley, has remained absent from AEW TV. AEW President Tony Khan has declined to comment on the situation on multiple occasions. But on the first episode of the FTR podcast with Dax Harwood, the AEW tag team star pleaded for the 4 men to find a way to make it work, saying, quote, "This is my plea to all 4 guys. Please find a way to make it work. If we can make it work, we can set up the future of professional wrestling for a long time, and we can change the course of professional wrestling for a very long time. When you think about it, unselfishly, we're doing this for 20, 30 years down the road so guys and girls can make a living," Harwood said. Now, the Pro Wrestling Podcast shared a news story about Harwood's quotes on Instagram and encouraged the two sides to shake hands and say sorry. Punk directly commented on the post, you can see it right here, saying simply, "Duh," as if to say, well, that would be the logical thing to do. As of this recording, it's unclear what the future holds for Punk. Of course, we'll continue to find out, see what happens when it comes to this situation. If more information does become available, of course, we'll talk about it here on the channel. But really, I guess it's kind of the first real, true public comments directly on that situation that Punk has done. Yes, I know he's been on the MMA commentary scene and he's kind of referenced it, hinted at it, but for the first time directly talking about the incident himself, CM Punk has said basically, well, of course, that would make sense, and this goes back to my point. I do believe there is a willingness now from CM Punk to let bygones be bygones, put things aside, put issues aside, return to AEW and make money. So as we head into 2023, with the Elite making these references to Punk on television, with CM Punk saying, duh, wouldn't that be the right thing to do? Maybe it's all on Tony Khan, it's all on Kenny Omega, it's all on the Young Bucks. Do they want CM Punk to return? Are they willing to put these issues aside and make money? As I've said, if Punk returns to television, he teams with FTR, they face the Elite. That could be the biggest storyline that AEW has ever presented. And certainly, it would certainly heat up a very cold product this year. So, hey, you never know. You never know. 2022 has told us, expect the unexpected in professional wrestling. Let's talk about Dynamite last night. It was main evented by a TNT Championship match. Now, many went into the show expecting Wardlow to win the TNT Championship for a second time, but that did not happen. In addition to him not winning the championship, he also lost his hair. Wardlow's man bun is no more. Mr. Mayhem was publicly humiliated by Samoa Joe following his unsuccessful pursuit of the TNT Championship Championship on the December 28th AEW Dynamite New Year's Smash edition of the show in Broomfield, Colorado. After the match, Joe struck Wardlow with his title belt before grabbing a pair of scissors from a toolbox under the ring. Joe then proceeded to headbutt referee Paul Turner before cutting off a portion of Wardlow's hair, drawing loud boos from the fans inside the First Bank Center. Joe then held up Wardlow's man bun as a symbol of his conquest until Darby Allin made a beeline to the ring through the crowd and nailed Joe in the back with his skateboard. Allin then posed with the TNT Championship as the fans cheered. Of course, Darby Allin had been away from AEW programming since his loss to Joe on the December 7 edition of Dynamite in Cedar Park, Texas. After that match, Joe destroyed Darby by dropping him with a muscle buster onto the wheels of Allen's skateboard. Joe then choked out Allen until that time Wardlow made the save. So the question is, what's next for Samoa Joe? It appears AEW could be building to an eventual Joe versus Darby Allin bout. Allin, only the second TNT champion in AEW history, dropped the title to Miro in May of 2021. Wardlow lost via submission for the first time in his AEW career in his loss on Wednesday. Joe, they did protect Wardlow certainly throughout the show because Joe attacked his knee backstage earlier on in the show, and midway through the match, Wardlow appeared to jam his left knee while attempting a top rope move. Joe targeted Wardlow's leg for the rest of the bout. Eventually, Wardlow's knee gave out, allowing Joe to apply a rear naked choke for the victory. Wardlow passed out as the referee called for the bell. This was Joe's third successful title defense since capturing the TNT Championship at Full Gear, following victories over AR Fox and Darby Allin. Joe has also been defending his Ring of Honor World Television Championship on a regular basis too, with his most recent victory coming against Juice Robinson at the Final Battle pay-per-view. Certainly was surprising. There were reports going into the show. I think it was Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select said there's confetti in the ceiling, there's confetti in the roof last night in Colorado, so the expectation is that Wardlow's going to win. He did not. And to be honest, it kind of makes a bit of sense that he would not, because Samoa Joe only just won the title, and that's a championship, the TNT Championship, that's been a bit of a hot potato championship. It's been given around pretty quickly, so I think it was the right call, and they did protect Wardlow, and clearly they're setting up for a different version of Wardlow to return at some point. Last night saw the Elite square off once again with Death Triangle in the penultimate match of the Best of 7 series, and of course the Elite need to win to stay in it, and they did. The 6th match of the Best of 7 series between the Elite and Death Triangle took place on last night's December 28th New Year Smash episode of Dynamite. Death Triangle entered the match at a 3-2 advantage over the Elite, with this match set to take place under Falls Count Anywhere rules. Using that, the Elite jumped the champions in the back, with the match starting in the backstage area. The two teams brawled their way out to the ringside area, with Rey Fenix hitting a dive off the entrance tunnel onto the Elite. The fight spilled into the crowd before ultimately the Elite tied up the series when Kenny Omega pinned Rey Fenix with a super one-winged angel from a ramp through 2 tables. At that period of time, Pac actually had the brutalizer on Matt Jackson in the ring. The bell rang. Pac thought he had won and retained the Trios Championship for his team, but actually it was Kenny Omega who got the pinfall on Rey Fenix somewhere else in the arena. And obviously this then leads to the final match. 3 apiece, 1 more match remains for the AEW World Trios Championship. It will be Escalera de la Muerte, a ladder match. The final match of the series is set to take place on January 11th. That edition of Dynamite in Los Angeles. Of course, it's not going to take place next week because Kenny Omega's not in the country. He's going to be inside the Tokyo Dome facing off against Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom 17. But as to be expected, we knew what the finish really was going to be. We knew the Elite was going to win. It was a great match. And if you thought last night was chaotic, just wait in a couple of weeks' time, because that ladder match is going to be something else, and chaos barely describes it. Now, speaking of Will Ospreay, we've got an update on his contract situation with New Japan Pro Wrestling, with some speculation in the future he could go to AEW or, of course, WWE. Well, according to a report from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, Will Ospreay's deal hasn't changed since he revealed he was in the middle of a 5-year deal with New Japan. Fightful spoke with Will Ospreay ahead of Wrestle Kingdom on New Japan World and asked about the nature of contracts and possibilities. Previously, Ospreay had stated publicly that he'd signed a 5-year contract in early 2019. He confirmed that his deal is up in little over a year in early 2024. He also spoke openly about his feelings. Ospreay said he's paid very well by New Japan Pro Wrestling and his heart is still with the company as of right now. He said that the 2016 offer from Evolve could have opened up a lot of doors, but working with New Japan has been the right decision for him. He said in 2019 that he'd not sign with AEW unless they had a partnership with New Japan, which of course has happened and massively expanded since then. He noted that money talks, but he has a lot of anxiety about living and staying in the United States and has been more comfortable living in the UK, where he always has. He did note when he did his AEW appearances, everyone made him feel at home and he enjoyed it. So we'll have to wait and see. The full interview coming out with Fightful is coming out on December 30 tomorrow, so there's going to be links in the video description for that. It's important to aggregate when you talk about news stories. But Ospreay could end up in AEW. I wouldn't be shocked if he stayed with New Japan because of the schedule. He likes the schedule, but he likes, again, being able to live in the UK. Ultimately, I remember people like Gunther said the same thing and they ended up in the United States. So things can and will change, but that's plenty of time away, and I'm sure that's probably what he's thinking about it right now. We know that a new Dynamite and new Rampage is coming in 2023, but with word that next week's January 4th edition of AEW Dynamite will mark a new era of branding for AEW Dynamite, will there also be a new theme song? Well, possibly, if you take a tweet from AEW music extraordinaire Mikey Ruckus to be a clue. After the airing of the current AEW Dynamite theme during last night's broadcast on TBS, Ruckus posted an interesting set of tweets. First, paying tribute to the current theme, Ruckus wrote, quote, "Light the fuse, bring the boom, hashtag AEW Dynamite." He then continued saying, quote, FYI, easy for me to say, "I have no idea what's happening, but just in case, I wanted to remember that moment." While there haven't been any firm confirmation on the totality of the changes coming to AEW Dynamite, there have been some indications. According to an interview with Tony Khan, AEW Dynamite will be debuting both new graphics and a new set design. Speaking on the issue with TV Insider, Khan didn't want to reveal too much, but was sure to note there would be a new look in the new year for both Dynamite and Rampage, and logically that would suggest not only new graphics, a new stage, but encompassing that a new theme. What that theme is hasn't been confirmed. If we get an update, of course, we will let you know here. Hangman Adam Page is nearing his in-ring return for AEW, and AEW is teasing that Hangman Adam Page vs. Jon Moxley will be one of the marquee matches for its return to Los Angeles on January 11th as they continue to build that massive show in the Kia Forum. During last night's edition of Dynamite, Renee Paquette approached Paige in the Dark Order in the backstage area where a doctor was seen checking on the Millennial Cowboy, who has been out of action since suffering a concussion in a match against Moxley on October 18. Quote, "This is frustrating," Paige admitted when asked for an update on his in-ring return. "I don't think we really have an update. It's week to week, and it's not looking very promising. I haven't wrestled in over 2 months, and I'm very frustrated. I wish we had a good answer for you, but I don't think we do." Now, it was at this point the doctor in the room pointed out that Paige has been following the concussion protocol and making advancements in the right direction. Quote, "If you keep this up, we could get you back in the ring in potentially 2 weeks, the doctor told Paige. 2? You think so? Paige responded. The doctor then advised Paige to rest up rather than confronting Moxley on a weekly basis. "If you keep getting riled up, something's going to happen. We might not ever get you back in the ring," the doctor cautioned Paige. Besides the potential Paige vs. Moxley bout, the January 11th AEW Dynamite at the Kia Forum will feature Saraya and the mystery partner, speculated to possibly be Mercedes Varnado versus AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Match 7 of the ongoing Best of 7 series between the Elite and Death Triangle. Certainly already AEW seemingly stacking that big show in LA. Sammy Guevara and Tay Mello, are no longer the AAA Mixed Tag Team Champions. Sammy Guevara and Tay Mello have officially been stripped of the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championships. The AEW stars were set to defend AEW's AAA's Noche de Campeones on December 28 in a triple threat match against 2 teams, Commander and Sexy Star 2, and Octagon Jr. and Lady Shani. However, Conan came out during the show to announce that Guevara and Mello would not be defending and would furthermore be stripped of the titles. Conan cited numerous cancellations and intense demands of the couple, such as wanting their own referee and a personal stylist, and the reasons for the titles being vacated. He further announced that Flammer and Abiso Negro Jr. would be taking their place in the match they were set to defend in, and that the winners would be crowned the new Mixed Tag Team Champions. Flammer and Negro Jr. ultimately came out on top and were crowned new AAA Mixed Tag Team Champions. The actual championship belts were not present at the event, but Conan addressed the issue before the match, saying he had, quote, sent someone to receive them. So we'll have to wait and see if that happens on AEW television. Now, Melo did wrestle on December 28th, but on AEW Dynamite rather than at Noche de Campeones. On Dynamite, Melo teamed up with Anna J.A.S. I always get that wrong. In a winning effort against Willow Nightingale and Ruby Soho. With Guevara and Melo's reign ending at 243 days, the controversial couple held the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championship since Triple Mania 30 Monterrey on April 30th. Their championship win came in the midst of social media controversy over their relationship and Guevara's TNT Championship feud against Scorpio Sky, but now that's over and maybe we don't see any more Guevara and Melo appearances in AAA moving forward. Speaking of AAA, FTR, it was expected and it did happen. FTR have dropped the AAA World Tag Team Championships, and a really interesting thing happened after that. We're going to talk about that in today's WWE news video when it comes to their new signing, but it wasn't a good night for AEW wrestlers keeping their AAA titles at last night's Noche de Campeones event. FTR, as I mentioned, lost the Tag Team Championships to Dralistico and Dragon Lee in a match where heel referee Hio de Torrentes was not allowed to cheat. When he did just that, Conan came out and ejected him from the match. A new referee came in, allowing Dralistico and Lee to score the victory and win the titles. Of course, FTR had held onto the titles for 427 days, defeating Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. on the October 16, 2021 edition of AEW Dynamite. Of course, after the match, it was announced about the new signing for WWE, that being Dragon Lee. Certainly it was a massive story. The future titles of those titles now remain really unclear because Lee announced after the match he had signed with WWE after winning the titles, and in such a wild situation, you had an AEW tag team drop the AAA Tag Team Championships to a future WWE superstar. WWE posted the footage of Dragon Lee announcing he had signed with the company while holding the AAA Tag Team Championships, which say FTR over the top. The pro wrestling multiverse nearly exploded. But as I mentioned, we're going to go into more detail about that in today's WWE news video. Karen Jarrett lashed out on Twitter last night. Storyline against Tony Khan, because on last night's edition of Dynamite, the Acclaim debuted their new diss track, and it seemed that the rhymes were not acceptable to one spouse. It was pretty stiff stuff, it must be said. On Dynamite, the Acclaim debuted their latest diss track, and this time the targets were their current foes, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Max Caster and his typically savage burns were directed towards Jeff Jarrett with several brutal lines, noting that Jarrett was a carny multiple times. He also lambasted him for his age and even stealing money like he stole Kurt Angle's wife. He even mentioned the GFW gold bars, which I thought was tremendous. While it seems that the wife in question took quite the exception to the rap and has also clapped back on Twitter at not only Max Caster but also Tony Khan himself. Karen Jarrett hopped onto the Bird app to write after the segment aired, quote, "Please tell me I didn't hear what I just think I heard." Going very Booker T there. "That little boy went to a place he should have never gone to. Hey, Tony Khan, your little boy Platinum Max thought he was cute and went somewhere he should have never ever gone. You and him have no idea what you've gotten started." While she wrote later that she was not playing for his part, Max Caster does not seem too disturbed. Tweeting back at Karen, he said, quote, "Cancel me, hashtag AEW Dynamite. But we can't cancel the Acclaimed. Everyone loves the Acclaimed." And I thought the diss track was actually pretty funny, and some of the stuff actually quite accurate. MJF was spotted with a mystery woman last night on Dynamite, and we have finally some information as to who she was. Because of the striking resemblance to Shotzi, some fans wondered if they had just seen the WWE superstar pop by AEW Dynamite. However, the mystery woman definitely wasn't Shotzi. No stranger to the world of professional wrestling, the person in question was none other than Daddy Doom, and according to her Twitter page, she's currently accepting booking. So that's who it is. It wasn't Shotzi Blackheart or anything like that, even though there is a bit of a resemblance there. Friday will be AEW Rampage New Year Smash, and we have some updates on some title matches announced for the show. A pair of baddies turned foes will come to blows as Jade Cargill defends her TBS Championship against Kiera Hogan on Friday's episode of AEW Rampage. The title match, more than 1 month in the making, has been brewing ever since Cargill kicked Hogan out of her faction on the November 23 episode of Dynamite. Since then, Hogan has been gaining momentum as a singles competitor, picking up victories against the likes of Casey Lennox, Nikki Victor, victory on Dark, not to mention putting on an impressive outing against Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena at the recent taping of Dark Elevation. So that's a title match that's going to be taking place on the show. Another title match will be for the All-Atlantic Championship. Kip Sabian has had his eye on Orange Cassidy's AEW All-Atlantic Championship for the past several weeks now, but he'll have to wait a little bit longer before he gets his opportunity at the gold, as Trent Beretta is next in line for a shot on Friday's Rampage. During last night's episode of Dynamite, Sabian requested time to speak to Freshly Squeezed, Best Friends, and Danhausen during a backstage interview moderated by Renee Paquette. Sabian requested a title match against Cassidy after eliminating him from the $300,000 Three Kings Christmas Casino Trios Battle Royale on last week's Rampage. Beretta cut him off and reminded him of the fact that he eliminated Sabian immediately afterwards, adding that by Sabian's logic, he should be next in line. And Orange Cassidy agreed with him, granting Beretta the shot. A frustrated Sabian said that he looked forward to seeing the match and walked off. Sabian and Cassidy have faced each other a handful of times dating back to November 2020. Both in singles and tag team action. They both participated in the first and only Arcade Anarchy match as a result of Sabian's arcade machine getting destroyed, which was gifted to him by then ally the best man Miro. So we're going to be getting an All-Atlantic Championship match Friday on Rampage. Finally, we have a bit of an update on Jeff Hardy as well. It's been an update since there's been any kind of key update on the status of Jeff Hardy, both in terms of his health and his role in AEW. There have been updates in terms of the legal situation, in terms of the court case for his pending DUI charges, mainly in the form of delays like last week's, and his brother Matt Hardy said on Busted Open Radio in September that he was progressing well, but that was about it. Well, on Wednesday, though, in answering a Twitter question, Wrestling Observer newsletter editor Dave Meltzer provided somewhat of an update on Jeff's status, saying, quote, "I believe he's out of rehab," Meltzer tweeted, responding to someone who asked simply, "What is the status of Jeff Hardy?" Now, of course, Hardy was arrested on June 13 by Florida Highway Patrol officer in Deland, Florida on charges of DUI, alcohol, drugs, third offense within 10 years, while driving while license cancelled, suspended, revoked, and violating restrictions placed on a driver's license, using an Intoxilizer 8000 device to determine Hardy's blood alcohol content. He blew a 0.294 and then a 0.291 on his 2 attempts, both of which were more than 3.5 times the legal limit, which is 0.8. He was suspended without pay by AEW the next day, pending, according to a company statement, successfully completing treatment and maintaining his sobriety. He was, of course, released from his most recent WWE contract last December after an incident where there was concern that he was intoxicated, only for the drug test to come back clean, paving the way for him to sign with AEW in March. So the latest is that Hardy is believed to be out of rehab, but in terms of the legal situation, that looks to be something that's ongoing and is going to take a lot of time. So there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.